I just saw the replay of it too.
Guys, we're live. I'd like to welcome everybody to another episode of Scarfey's tonight. I'm Philp King. I'm going to be your host tonight in absence of Harry Scarfe, who is lucky enough to be at Wembley for England against Wales. And I've actually just seen a bit of a goal flash from there where I understand it's actually 3-0 at the moment. Didn't it just kick off not that long ago? Or was it half time or something already? How many minutes have gone?
Half time.
Yes.
Wow, okay. Didn't quite expect that scoreline, so it sounds like it's going well for us. But yeah, anyways, welcome everyone to another one tonight. We've been joined tonight by a couple of esteemed guests and also regulars on the channel as well. Starting off with Mike, welcome to tonight. Give a quick introduction of yourself.
Yeah,
And where you calling in from?
Yeah, thanks, mate. Long time fan, first time caller. No, second time caller actually. But I'm down in Oz, in Melbourne, and thanks to daylight savings kicking in, it's the more charitable hour of 6:36 a.m. this morning. So lovely to be with you. I'm nothing but a big Spurs fan in my spare time, which there isn't much of, and just love the roller coaster. So I'm here to get into it with all y'all.
Great. We've got some interesting talking points tonight. Obviously, it's an international break. I think most Spurs fans are not the biggest fans of the international breaks, right? You know, historically, it's kind of a bit boring sometimes, isn't it? We've got a couple of things, and I think we've been boosted as well by the news of our 100 million cash injection today as well. So that gives us something juicy to talk about as well. But yeah, welcoming back Travis as well. For tonight, hashtag bring back Eric Dyer. Where you calling in from, Trav?
Do you know what? As many people know on this podcast, I'm a massive Eric Dyer fan. You know, the guy is absolutely mustard. You know, but yeah, I thought he might retire by now. He'd be driving a cruise ship across the Mediterranean Sea or something like that. But he lives long and obviously playing for Monaco now. So I wish him all the best. Obviously scoring that penalty the other night, and I saw it flash up on my score app. I nearly fainted, to be honest with you. I couldn't believe it. Out of all people, Eric Dyer has scored a penalty. But yeah, great to be back on as always. Glad to be back on with you again, Phil, and obviously Mike, obviously from a long, far away, the other side of the world. So yeah, massive respect for that, to get up the time in the morning that you do, Mike. So yeah, great to be back on and obviously talking everything Tottenham. Obviously positive when we've been playing the way we've been playing, and yeah, let's get into it.
Excellent. So guys, look, and to all of our listeners and watching us, if you're new on YouTube, please make sure to subscribe to Harry's YouTube channel. You know, and if you're listening via audio, please drop us a follow and a 5-star review and get involved as well, right? I want to also just give a quick shout out to our partners as well that support the channel and Harry as well. First of all, we've got the Kit Man. You know, have a look at them as well. They've got all classic, you know, in past seasons, football shirts, shorts and scarves. I believe like a lot of retro stuff as well, right? So you can relive former players and memorable goals with really, really good retro memorabilia from them as well. The Kit Man, Harry's actually got a nice 15% discount that you can use as well, which is Scarfey 15 as well. I think I'm going to check that one out and order myself an old Hoddle retro top, I think from the 1986 or 1987 season.
Mate, get yourself some Eric Dyer merch from the golden era.
Oh, very good point. Very good point. I'm sure Trav's already got some.
I've got a discount, mate. I've got 50% off.
I'm just going to buy direct from Trav. Bugger
it. Yeah, come to me, guys. I'll get the commission.
We're also partnered with and also kind of being supported by Everything Spurs on Discord, which is actually one of the biggest online Tottenham communities right now. We're over 10,000 members worldwide. It's actually owned and run by Wheelsy, who you'll know. He's a regular on the Scarfey Spurs Talk Podcast and a very renowned Spurs content creator as well. Big shout out to Wheelsy as well, because he's part of Harry's thumbnails team as well. Inside that server, actually, if you go in there, you'll find live match chat during every Spurs game, transfer news, rumours, loads of general Spurs banter and debates, gaming stuff, FPL, and other off-topic channels and stuff to keep things fun between matches, and also an international break as well. So literally, it's the 24/7 virtual pub for all Tottenham fans out of there as well. Basically, again, we find ourselves in an international break, and it's always funny, isn't it, when we go through our players. Before we move on to that, I also want to just shout out again, we've got a couple more partners as well. We've got Dan Gave Support Services Limited. Dan Gaze provide experienced staff to support young people to fulfill their potential, develop their skills, and be active and positive members of their community. They also aim to build direct relationships, be a positive and consistent role model, coach and mentor young people to develop their skills and teach self-regulation. They've got a lot of experience in social, emotional, and mental health as tutors, teachers, senior leaders, and HTLAs. And they're also proud sponsors of Nick Freeman and Harvey White. And our Harry is also an ambassador as well. We've also got Into the 90, which is also a Discord community to share workflows, get real feedback, and learn together, especially for any football analysts, scouts, or aspiring analysts or scouts. That's actually a really, really highly rated Discord channel. Actually, for anyone who's active in that area or looking to get into the area, that's Into the 90. And then my final point is just a shout out as well to obviously the Last Word on Spurs podcast, supporters of our channel. And we've obviously got a lot of respect for what Rookie and the guys do there as well. But yeah, cracking on now. So onto our discussion points. Actually, just wanted to really kick off today talking about Rodrigo Bentancur's New Deal that was confirmed and signed a couple of days ago. So starting off with you, Mike, like what's your overall feeling on the New Deal? Are you happy about it? Do you think it's because we're planning the future with Bentancur, like for the next 2-3 years, or is there an issue potentially with his transfer fee, etc.? Bearing in mind his contract was going to run out next summer anyways.
Great question, Phil. Look, I think it's probably one that's more around the financials than anything. I think strategically, you wouldn't have thought Bentancur would be a huge priority to lock down, given form. I mean, he's been okay this season, not doing anything special by way of goal contributions at all. Last year, he was a bit lean on goal contributions too, but he played an important role in that pivot kind of receive from the goalkeeper and play out. I've seen a bit less of that under Frank, and there's a bit of worry, I think, about his similarity in profile to Bentancur, to Paulinho, who's clearly a much better player, in my opinion. So I see this as just locking down a good backup player who knows the squad and the system well, and good rotation player. I think he'll play when Paulinho can't, but I see Paulinho as a real Rolls Royce that they need to lock down, and this is sort of the insurance chip behind him in some ways.
Just staying with you, Michael, on that, do you think that Bentancur has changed since his injury? Has he kept his level, or has he definitely not quite reached the level that he had before his? I think it was an ACL, wasn't it?
It's a bad injury, and I think you're right, Phil. I mean, I don't think he's got back to the heights where he was at. It takes players time, I think, to come back at this level from an ACL, but with the way that he plays, with that turn and agility and touch in midfield, I don't know whether he's going to be able to get back to where he was. I hope he does, because he was a great player for a couple of seasons there. But I must say that if you ask me, would I prefer to see Bentancur or perhaps or someone else in that pivot role, I'd say anyone else at the moment. So not a big priority exciting talking point really for me. But it's squad management. It's got to be done.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Mike. Coming over to you, Travis. Like, what are your overall feelings on the extension?
Yeah, I've got quite a lot to say about Bentancur. To be fair, I think he's a great player, and as Mike quite rightly said, I think we are looking more towards the future with obviously who Frank wants, obviously within the team. The only thing with Bentancur, he's more of a deeper playing midfielder, whereas Paulinho is more attacking, and he will get forward a lot more, and obviously hence why he's got the goals that he's got, because he will throw himself forward. As Bentancur just sits that bit more deeper towards the back. The only good thing is there's now competition with Bentancur, so obviously he's going to have to up his game now. Paulinho is in. I really hope we do sign Paulinho, and I've said for weeks now that there's just something there when I personally don't think you can play Paulinho and Bentancur in the same team. I think it either has to be Paulinho and Bergvall or Sarr, or Bentancur, Bergvall or Sarr, because then you've got your attack there. Um, Paulina does get forward. He has scored goals, but I just think it just doesn't sit right with me. I don't know on your guys' thoughts on that. But for me, I think you need either a Bergvall or a Sarr in there. Obviously, when Madison's back as well from injury, obviously he's a huge miss within the team at the moment as it is anyway. But for me, it just doesn't sit right with playing Bentancur and Paulinho in that same midfield. I'm very happy he signed a new contract, and I think he's going to be a key player for the team. But now Paulinho's in, he's settled so well. Yeah, so I've got a lot of high expectations for Paulinho. I'm not saying Bentancur's a bad player, because he really isn't. On his days, absolutely unplayable. But it's just that them two in the midfield just doesn't sit right for me.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, Travis, as well on that. I don't think that you can play Bentancur and Paulina really together. I understand the theory behind it, but somehow in practice, for me, like just how it looks on the pitch,
Yeah, yeah,
um, for me, it just looks wrong, and I can't. It just looks wrong. It doesn't seem to work. Whereas if you put a Bergvall or a Saar next to Paulina, I think there's a much better balance already. I know I bang on about the balance. I think the last couple of weeks, right, especially in midfield, but for me that's lacking when Bentancur is in there with Paulinho.
yeah.
Coming back to you, Mike, on that topic, who would your preferred kind of centre midfield partnership be actually right now? If you bared in mind that everyone was fit, also bearing in mind that obviously for certain games, Frank's going to change it around, right? Maybe if we're playing away at Man City or at Liverpool, it could be a bit different than if we're playing at home against a bottom half team. But like, what's your feeling around our strongest midfield at the moment as it stands?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think that there's a few ways to cut it, because it kind of depends on whether Frank goes with a front three or a 1-2, with Xavi playing as the 10. So, because I think that if you got Xavi in there, you've got that chance to play him centrally. You've got a bit of a sort of different look. So I'll give you two answers. I think that if you got a base three and you don't have Xavi in there, I reckon you want to have Paulinho, Sarr and Bergvall at this stage being your probably starting three would be my picks. And then you've got Xavi, and then I think what worked best from a statistic and outcomes perspective was Kudus and Richie being sort of the two up front. They just can't get the left side right, so that's my reason for saying that. And obviously, you got a better operator with Xavi in the middle. But I reckon David Clark in the chat makes a good point. Buy Elliot
Yeah.
Anderson from Forest immediately, which I thought because getting that mix right, it's all about when you got a big lump like Paulinho, a bit of a punisher, it's kind of about who you put next to them. And someone like Anderson, I think, would just, make any midfield sing, but particularly would be a good synergy with us. Obviously, we can't get him right now, maybe never, but we've got a lot of money now. We're loaded, boys. So maybe we'll just go nab him in January.
I think the challenge we have slightly is we've got all this young talent in midfield as well, right, coming through. who've played quite a few games already, so they've proven that they're kind of good enough, and that includes even Archie Gray, possibly, right, coming through. A lot of fans have been asking for him to maybe start right in the number 8, I think, or maybe the number 6 originally, but certainly this season, maybe even number 8. We've got Bergvall, Sarr, Gray, Xavi kind of in front of them. And yet, probably a lot of us would actually say that we still do need like an Elliot Anderson kind of level of player, possibly, right? Or maybe in an absolute dream world with some of the cash from the Lewises, an Adam Wharton kind of player. But then we have, which we would take, wouldn't we? But then we would have quite a few, other central midfielders. And I guess the challenge would be is how do we, how does Frank, how do the guys there, Cochrane, etc., how do they get them, happy? How do they keep them happy? How do we, rotate effectively? But it's just my 2 pence on myself on the Bentancur is, I almost feel like he's taken away like a slot from one of those other guys, at the moment. That's how I would put it. And I kind of am hoping that we extended him just so we don't lose him on a free, and maybe we can still sell him for a free. But, even if he's in the squad, then he's still, a strong squad player, something like that.
Hey, Phil, I mean, is it the case with Bentancur that if you're going to just say Palhinha starts in important games, if he needs to come off for any reason, it's good to have Bentancur there because it's almost like for like in what you want him to do. And I know that my mate down the bottom there sort of saying, Trav, that he might be a bit different to Palhinha, but I think in terms of the game style and what you need him to do, he can come in and just do that same role really well if you need that. And I don't know if we've got other players that can do that as well.
Yeah, I don't think we do. I mean, to be fair, Bentancur does offer something, right? Possibly as well with his experience that he can come in and shadow Palhinha in some respects. I just think he also need like people like he needs to go up a level, I would say, still. But then he's got the competition, hasn't he? So, we've got 3 players kind of fighting for a spot in there. So hopefully that will actually drive all of them onto better performances as well. But let's see. I want to move on to the next point, topic of discussion, which is actually kind of the announcement as well of the new leadership group. Also a couple of days ago, right? So Frank took his time, obviously coming in. He didn't make a immediate decision, right, on the players that he would bring into the leadership group. It's kind of interesting that clubs formally announce this nowadays as well, right? Because obviously in the past, I don't think anyone would have kind of either heard of a leadership group or kind of even imagined that there would be like a formal leadership group, right, outside of the kind of senior captain. But seems to be part of modern football. Obviously, Ange had his one as well the last 2 years. But it was announced, though, and the players that Thomas Frank has picked are Davies, Vicario, Romero, Maddison, and Mickey van der Ven. So 5 players in the leadership group, obviously with Romero as club captain. What are your thoughts, Travis, on those picks, like on the group of 5 players that Frank has picked there?
I was quite stunned really with 2 players, one being Ben Davies and one being Vicario. Why? Because I can't see Vicario lasting longer than the next transfer window, personally. And I think Kingsley needs a bit more playing time and more of a run because he's a lot more composed. He's a lot more mature. And I think he's just a better goalkeeper. People have got their own thoughts on that, but that's just what I see. And Ben Davies, I think he's been a great servant to the club. He's a really good defender, but I think he's getting near his sell by date now. So for me, for them two, I just I couldn't understand why. Obviously, Romero being the club captain, absolutely. James Maddison, yes, I can understand why. And who was the other one? Did you say, Phil?
We had Van der Ven. Was it Van der
Van der
Ven?
Ven. Yeah. So yeah, them three, I can completely understand why. Obviously, he was the captain against Bodo Glimp in the Champions League the other night, and I thought he was absolutely fantastic. Again, born natural leader. But yeah, the other two for me, I couldn't see. I think that was more of a panic, if anything. I couldn't see the concept or the why Frank chose him. There's obviously a reason why, but I can't see what that reason is personally for me.
Yeah. Coming over to you, Mike. Were you surprised that maybe there wasn't someone like Pedro Porro, possibly, in the group, or maybe even a Bentancur, just based on his kind of experience with Tottenham, let's say, right, over the last couple of years, and being more of a senior player, let's say.
Yeah, good questions, Phil. I mean, I think the first thing to say is Romero being named captain first, but not a full leadership group, made this an utterly non-event as an announcement. And I think it was such a non-event that Frank actually forgot to announce the team to either the team themselves or the media. So there's actually Ali Gold talks about a funny sequence when he asked Frank in a presser about who the leadership team is, and I think he's talking to Van der Ven, and he doesn't even know he's in the leadership group despite being captain for the Glimp game. So it's very much a non-event, the naming of this leadership group, and it's not that different to Angie's leadership group. The letdown for me, as you say, Phil, is they should have got. I think Porro was just an obvious no-brainer to get him in that leadership group, because for everyone watching Spurs, he just is a reliable week in, week out player now, real professional, full of energy, always fit, always doing everything he can for the club. But as you say, we don't know what happens in the dressing room, and I think that this is largely a dressing room leadership group. Like Ben Davies, I think, has not played more than a few minutes this season, but he's in that group. Maddison, likewise. So there must be a lot of reliance on who's seen as the club voices that matter inside. But yeah, largely uninspiring stuff. I think that the only one that's really piques my interest is Van der Ven. I think is a really good shout as being in that group. But otherwise, would have liked to see Porro and maybe even take a punt and put Papsar or Bergvale in there to just show the youth coming up and the importance of that. But nah, not a big one on the ticket for me, mate.
Yeah, good points. Good points. I mean, I'm surprised that Porro wasn't part of that leadership group, as you said as well, Mike. Like he's always very involved in all passages of play. He's very vocal anyway, isn't he, on the pitch? He's very
Yeah.
passionate. But he's always kind of going up to players and talking in their ear as well. That's how I see Porro as well a bit. So I'm surprised that he's not part of that. Of course, we don't know what Frank does actually discuss with the players, do we? I mean, it could even be, the fact that maybe Thomas Frank actually even went to Porro with Cochrane and, or some other players, and maybe actually offered them the chance to be in the leadership group, right? Playing devil's advocate, right? And saying, would you like to be part of the leadership group? And if you are, this is kind of, it's not just about being a leader on the pitch, but this is what it means. For all we know, maybe some players didn't want that extra responsibility, whatever that means in practice, right? What is being part of the leadership group? What does it mean? You
They
kind
might
of
say, Phil,
expecting.
they might, sorry to interrupt, they might just think that, sometimes they say with teams, you don't have to be in the leadership group to be a leader. And so maybe that's the big
Yeah,
thing, sort of that distributed leadership model across the club. And, Frank's all about developing the young players. So maybe it's more like they have some more older players in the leadership group that help bring the younger development players up faster. I don't know. I mean, who knows what his thinking is? So new. What do you reckon, Trav?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Pedro Porro, I didn't think of Porro, to be fair. I think that's an absolutely brilliant shout, to be fair, from both of you. As you say, he's passionate, he's very vocal on the pitch. Yeah, that I don't even know why why I didn't even think that myself, but yeah, that's a great shout, to be fair, over Ben Davies all day long. I say Ben Davies has been a brilliant servant. He's been at the club a long time, but for me, I would have chose somebody who's a bit newer to the squad and got other ideas.
A question for both of you, actually. Whilst we keep with that whole kind of general leadership topic, have you both been happy with Romero's tenure as captain so far? Albeit in 10 games. It's maybe hard to pass a judgment on that potentially. But what do you feel about Romero being our captain, and do you think that he's had an impact, or overall a positive impact so far?
Yeah, for me, I think he has, and it goes to show why Frank obviously chose him to be club captain. The only thing with Romero, he's a little bit hot-headed still. He's a little bit of a live wire, and he will, say his bit to the ref. He will say his bit to the line. He just needs to calm down a little bit, and I think he's 90% there. But I think it's just that, and obviously you're gonna have passion, you're gonna have your opinion, whatever way you look at it. But I think he's just still a bit too hot-headed for me. Just needs to calm that down a little bit, and he'll be spot on for me anyway.
You agree, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, look, all I can say is sometimes it takes a big responsibility to make somebody change their character and step up and be more of a professional. And I just think they've done a really good thing with Romero and the captaincy. I think that he has a bit of what we call in Australia the white line fever. He gets out there, and maybe you call it the same thing over there, but gets very excited and a bit too Argentinian and passionate, and goes in with a double lunges sometimes. But he's pulled his head in a bit, and I think that I don't think he's actually got too many yellows this season, and he's working in a defensive group that I think has conceded the second least goals in the comp. So I think he's leading by example. I think in a captain, you want a player that represents how you want to play as a team. And I think his defensive accountability, but also his ability to step forward and make progressive passes. It's a nice kind of almost snapshot of how Frank wants the side to play. And I really I must say, I wasn't this effusive about Romero before, but I think he's really this is a great time in his career to do something like this, and he's ready, and I think he's doing a good job so far, and we've got to back him in.
Yeah, well said. Just wanted to actually shout out our listeners and viewers, actually, in terms of the fact that we've received some really good comments, actually, right, this evening, right, from all of you, like about pretty much all of our discussion points. But when we're talking about the leadership group at captain, we've got a comment here from We Are Spurs TV. I'm old-fashioned and I don't like the leadership group. I just want 2 captains, and that's it. It's actually a fair comment, right? In some respects, football has changed on that topic, though. He followed that up as well. They followed that up with, I feel the leadership group is equivalent to a participation trophy. Yeah, I can kind of see that a bit as well, but my thoughts on that again, similar to what Mike said as well, is that the club probably will want, they will say anyways that they want every player in the club to act as a leader, right, in everything that they do, but potentially in the leadership group as well. Maybe each player's got a couple of players that they're looking after, kind of thing, right? Even from a buddy perspective, maybe there's like a kind of a player that they know they can go to, right, who's kind of part of this leadership group, right? There's lots of different ways of looking at this. But David Clark's,
we have got an injury-prone. We have got an injury-prone squad as well, so I can see that being a big part of why what has happened.
Yeah, we'd probably
Maybe
have to change.
They probably had to name people who are already injured, because if they name people who are fit, they'd get injured. Maybe it's just like a clever. At least you already know that they're injured, so
David Clark also said on here, strange choice of captains, because Matters can have an impact in the dressing room, but sorry, Davies and Vicario won't be here next season. Yeah, basically copy and pasting what Trav, I think you said earlier on. It's it's sometimes you look at these decisions and you kind of question a bit, don't you? Because I think it's also clear that someone like Davies isn't going to be here next season unless if he moves into a coaching role or something like that. Vicario, I think we've talked about quite a lot over the last couple of weeks and the last couple of pods as well. I'm sure we're going to be talking about him in the coming weeks as well, to be honest. But guys, that was a good little discussion around that. Let's move on to kind of a bit of a season review so far. A couple of months in, international break, probably a bit of a chance for not only us fans, but also for the club, for the coaching staff, everyone in the club to reassess a bit, like where are we? Are we ahead of where we wanted to be? Are we on track? Are the changes working that maybe Thomas Frank and his coaching team wanted to implement? Are the transfers bedding in so far? So if we look at the results so far this season, right? We beat Burnley 3-0. We beat Man City 2-0 away. We then lost in that frankly horrible game against Bournemouth 1-0 at home. We then beat West Ham 3-0 away. We beat Villarreal in the Champions League 1-0. We drew 2-2 away at Brighton, obviously coming back in that game from 2-0 down, where we possibly could have won that game in the end as well. We dispatched Doncaster 3-0 at home in the Carabao Cup. We drew 1-1 against Wolves at home, and obviously, as we know, quite a disappointing performance as well, but we still rescued a point in the end and didn't allow Wolves too much, probably in some respects. Then we drew with Bodo Glimt 2-2 away, also coming back obviously from 2-0 down, showing our resilience. So we're unbeaten in the Champions League, and we obviously progressed in the League Cup. And then, of course, now at the weekend, we had that great win in the end, 2-1 away at Leeds, in a very hard-fought, energetic game. So, we're kind of 10 games in, right, into Thomas Frank era. We're to put some facts out there, right, to anyone, obviously, again, who is listening, or kind of watching, obviously, but just to kind of put it into facts and black and white. Currently, we're third in the Premier League. We're 2 points off Arsenal, I think, obviously who are top. We're 1 point off Liverpool in second. We're quite a few points ahead of maybe some of our traditional challengers of the season. We've got 14 points from 7 games. We've got a +8 goal difference. In the Champions League, we're 9th at the moment. We've got 4 points from 2 games. We've got a positive goal difference. We're still the only team to not concede after the 75th minute. We haven't given up a lead yet, but there's probably still a lot of games in there where obviously, we've been disappointed, right, by certain aspects. So again, coming back to right where we are today, middle of the international break, if the people are analysing it Tottenham Hotspur way, where are we feeling about where we are? Coming to you, Trav, first on this, I guess, are you overall happy with the way that the Thomas Frank era has started? And if you are we kind of ahead of potentially where we thought we might be?
I'm really happy with the start of the season personally. Obviously, any Tottenham fan would be lying if they said it's going to continue like this, because obviously we've been here with Ange Postecoglou. The season started off really well. Wow, I've got this fantastic manager. So I am on the fence of it a little bit at the moment, but yes, the start has been absolutely fantastic. Obviously, as you mentioned, Phil, there, obviously we got a draw against Wolves. That is just typical Tottenham to go and lose, to go and draw, nearly lose against a team who are bottom of the league. So that is my concerns there, because it's always them teams that we slip up with that we lose vital points to. Going to Ellen Road it's probably one of the hardest places to go to, whether you're a Championship side, whether you're a Premier League side, whether you're playing in the Cup. It is a difficult place to go to. So getting a result from there was absolutely fantastic. The thing I'll say about Ange as well, his substitutions are absolutely spot on, and that's where Ange would always get it wrong. He won't wait about. He knows when it needs changing, and he will change it there and then. So yeah, for me, he's been fantastic. Yeah, he was great at Brentford anyway. So I'm really happy with him. To be fair, I think he's going to do a lot of good things for us. And fair play to him as well. He's never played Champions League football before. Obviously, we've played Bodo Glimt. And who's the first game we played? I can't remember who we played now. Who we
Villarreal.
played? Villarreal.
Was it
Yeah.
Villarreal? Yeah. Villarreal.
Villarreal. Yeah. So, yeah, two tough teams. And I thought we played brilliant in both. So, for a manager who's not played Champions League football before and not got any Champions League experience, I thought we've done really well. So, yeah, I've got a lot of praise for Frank, and I think it's going to be a good season.
Was he your first choice to become our new manager at the time?
For me, I wouldn't say he was my first choice. Personally, I wanted Luis Enrique from Barcelona. I think he's absolutely fantastic. Yeah, Frank would have been my second choice. Obviously, there's other managers out there who obviously are different and a different form of caliber. They've got different experiences, but obviously Frank's been in the Premier League. He's been in the Premier League for a good while now. Obviously with Brentford. So yeah, they were my two managers for me.
Yeah, thanks for that, Mike. What do you like? What are your thoughts about where we are at the moment? Like, litmus test. Are we ahead of where
Yeah,
you thought we would be?
yeah, no, I've got to agree with a lot of what Trav said. He's got some good points. I mean, I think that he's done extremely well, Frank, with what he's got available to him to try and figure out as well what's the best squad, what's the best formation. I think he's come in and the results tell a story that he's actually tactically done a really fantastic job. But I think the other thing to say with Frank is you got a lot of stakeholders in a club. You got the fans to think about. You've got the board and the leadership. You got the players. And Frank is a real professional in how he approaches things, and he's really enamored himself to all of those groups, the supporters, the media, the fans, the board. And he's just tactically very, very good to watch, and how he conducts himself in interviews and how he speaks about the game. So I think beyond the results, he's been superb for the club. I think, look, what can you be critical of? You can say we should have won against Wolves. We should have maybe not lost against Bournemouth. Maybe we should have been a bit more dominant and not having to win from 2 goals down or 1 goal down at the last couple of minutes. But I think there's so many positives given the lack of players at his disposal, and even the ones he brought in being injured, that big tick, he's done extremely well. Yeah, so very, very bullish on Frank. Yeah.
Do you think that that there were some
Sweetie?
games?
Sorry, go ahead.
Do you think that there were some games actually where we potentially could have even got more out of them?
Yeah.
With a bit more, I say a bit more luck, but maybe just a bit more composure, a bit more positivity, maybe at some elements of it, subs maybe a bit earlier, like not to get onto Frank's back, but do you think there's a couple of games that we actually even dropped points in, like really?
I do feel. I mean, I think that when you speak about Frank, I think he's been an A level versus A plus. So he's done an A grade performance. It could have been an A plus if he got a few other things right and tinkered a little bit more. I think the way he's set up in a few games, notoriously playing Bentancur and Paulinho in the same midfield, not working a few times. I think he's waited too long to bring Xavi centrally. He's not been responsive maybe in some dynamic subs where he could be. And I don't think he ought to be making a habit of chasing games and points the way that he has. But if you think about it on balance, I mean, all the games that we used to be disappointed about where we played crap last year, we get no points.
Yeah.
All those games this year where we've played crap and been really disappointed about, we've got at least a point by the final buzzer. So that's those points that you pick up when you shouldn't deserve them and you're crap. Are the ones that I think they're going to land you up the top of the table at the end of the season. And that's the big difference between having a coach like Frank and Ange, to be fair. So very, very happy with him. Yeah.
Very, very good point. There's certainly an argument to say that a lot of the games that we have played this season already, we would have lost them last season. We would have conceded more goals in them. Brighton, being 2-0 down last season, it probably would have or could have easily gone more like a 3 or a 4-1 or something like that,
So we've got an intruder. We've got my beautiful son, Marlo, is making his debut on Scarfey Talk Spurs. He doesn't know a lot about the Spurs.
Hi.
But Marlo says,
Hi, mate.
Marlo says hello.
Oh, bless him. Up the Spurs.
Yeah, up the Spurs. He's we're going to let him develop well emotionally before he starts to follow the Spurs. I think that's the safe way.
He's got beautiful hair, really nice hair.
It's something to aspire to for me, Trav.
It's stunning. Yeah.
Sorry, let's continue.
David Clark's got another interesting statement that he's posted in, saying that the Bournemouth game is the only game this season that Frank got out coached. Would you agree with that, Mike?
Look, Bournemouth really trick up a lot of good sides. So I think they're an exceptional, well-oiled machine with great players. I mean, don't get me started. If we start talking about Antoine Semenyo, I might just lose my mind and have to take my pants off. But look, I think they've been they're hard to play against Bournemouth. So I would have liked to get a point, and it was one of our crapper performances. But I mean, I think we are picking at threads a little bit to get on losing to Bournemouth too much at this stage, because as we keep saying, he doesn't know the best team balance yet. He doesn't know the best formation yet. He doesn't even know the players that well at this stage yet. We're only a few games in. So give him a bit of time. And Iriola, I expect, will be probably coaching a top global team, a top of the table Champions League team within a year or two. So, I mean, Frank, you could say similar things about his quality, but I think Iriola and Glasner, for me, are kind of, going to be the next big things. So it's no embarrassment or shame losing to Bournemouth. It happens to a lot of good sides.
And Bournemouth have got the special weapon of Mr. Semenyo as well, right? Who at the moment is possibly the best wide player maybe in the league, really, in terms of his, attacking devastation that he can, wreak down that side, right? Not only in scoring goals, but actually just in terms of opening up space and stuff. We'll talk about Semenyo a bit later on, because that kind of might combine with the news that was broken today about the Lewis family and possibly the sound of the till opening and the sound of lots of gold coins coming out, or a Las Vegas style, fruity machine, literally ding, 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 ding. That's what we're hoping for. We'll talk about that afterwards, though. I'd just like to come to you again, Travis, on David's comment, which is posted on the screen at the moment. David's written there, he said that in his opinion, with the players that Frank has had at his disposal, he's performed a miracle. like, do you think that our squad and that the players that we have, obviously we've got our first 11, but then we've got squad players as well. Do you think that the players in the squad is as good as sometimes the press and certain fans would big it up to be, or are we sometimes maybe a bit? Do we hype up some players a bit too much, maybe? And then actually, if you were kind of not a Spurs fan, maybe you'd look at them and kind of like, would you want them to play for your team? Do we have the quality?
I think that's quite a harsh comment, really, for me, because our squad depth is a lot better than what it was when we had Poch, when we had Ange. The incomings that we've had. But the problem is with Spurs is like Xavi Simons is prime example that these players need to be played in their actual positions. Xavi Simons is a 10. He plays in the middle of the park.
Yeah.
He's not a winger. I, so many people have said, why has Frank decided to play him out on that wing when you've got Tell, you've obviously got Brennan Johnson, you've got Kudus. There's players there that are made for them positions. Kudus he's not a winger. And on paper, our team is absolutely solid. We've got probably one of the best back four in the Premier League at the moment. One of the best centre backs in the world with Christian Romero, Van der Ven. I can't remember the last time we had a pairing like that, other than Jan Vertonghen and Toby Alderweireld. And obviously, when we go way back, when we had the likes of Ledley King, so we've always had a good defence. So for me, I don't think our squad is that bad. We definitely need a few more additions. Left wing, we definitely need a striker 100% because Solanke's injury prone, and I think Richie will be going out to Orlando by the sounds of it in the next transfer window. But we've always struggled with strikers. Yeah, so for me, I disagree with that comment. I think it's just been so much frustration around the team for so many seasons now, with managers coming and going, with the wrong players being brought in. But we have got a solid foundation. We have got a solid team, and on our day, we're absolutely mustard and a really difficult team to play against, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't think our squad is really not that bad at all. Really not that bad.
Trav, I reckon you're right. I mean, for me, it's a bit like it's a bit like an okay house that needs a lot of improvements, but that's going to take a bit of time. And I think, like, sorry to jump in, Phil, but I reckon signing a player like Xavi, and if they get Paulinho across the line, I think you're starting to see a different transfer policy that's probably the right one for where we're at.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
They need to start. They need to start buying stars like Xavi, and probably, not, with all respect to Dom Solanke, he's not a star. They need to go out and buy stars for these positions if they want to be competitive, because that's what the big clubs do.
For me, I rate the German league, and I think I've said this to you before, Phil. I rate the German league so highly, and Joshua Kimmich has been one of my favourite players for a long time now. And I know people have said that he wouldn't fit into the Tottenham team because of how he plays or whatever it may be. But there's players out there in that German league that would be really would thrive at Spurs. And I rate that league so highly. It's probably one of the best leagues in the world, and they're the sort of places we need to be looking. It's all well and good going to your Real Madrids and your Barcelonas and your PSGs. There's a few players I'd have from PSG. Dese Doué being one of them. But I think the German league have got strong teams, and I think there's a lot of top quality players there for me. I watch a lot of compilations on YouTube of some of the German teams, and it's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm based here in Germany and watch the Bundesliga every weekend, and I've been saying for years that I think it's almost criminal in some ways how, like, how few players come across to the Premier League from the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
And, if you then also break that down and look at the young talent that's coming through in the Bundesliga, and it always has done. The Bundesliga has always been a great hotbed of keeper talent as well. And I've never understood why, more Premier League teams haven't taken advantage of it, because the transfer fees have generally been fairly peanutty in terms of like the level of the fee. I think probably the one that's kind of blown all of that all out of the water is Voltemade, going to Newcastle, right? But I think it's pretty clear that they've probably overpaid for him in terms of what his true value is. But obviously, in the end, it could still come good, right, in terms of what he brings to them. But yeah, absolutely good point. I think just to comment on your points as well. I agree in terms of the quality of the squad. My question, if I can come back to you, Mike, actually quickly on this as well, though, in terms of the quality of the squad and maybe some of the players that we've bought in now, in the summer. Looking at Xavi now, where he is, right, after playing, I don't know how many games he's played for us, 5, 6 games, something like that. Bearing in mind, he's obviously kind of started out on the left with a couple of little cameos at number 10 recently. Are you super, super excited about him? Can you see how he kind of transforms our team, moving forward through the season and beyond?
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret I'm a big Xavi fan. I mean, I think he's fantastic. He was one of my favorite players in the Bundesliga before we got him. And if you ask me at the start of the year, who's the right profile of player that I'd like to see back up and even step in for matters, it's him. He's the perfect 10 for what we need. The question for me is more around, like, how does he build those relationships with the right players around him? And he's building relationships with players now that I don't think will be around him for that much longer, because he's just much better than them, to be fair. He's a world-class star signing in a squad that has a lot of B-plus players. Kudus, I'm mad on Kudus as well. I just love the bloke, and they're developing a nice connection too. And, you can see him linking up well down the left a bit more when he has gone that channel with Udogie and Spence as well. But I just reckon if you get Xavi with a proper elite striker in front of him, and maybe one or two other elite players around him, that squad is going to be cooking with so much gas. It's going to be an absolute. It's going to be terrifying for the big clubs, the others above
I
us.
applaud you for that, Mike. Spot on.
Yeah,
Spot on.
yeah. Yeah, I feel it. I feel like we're onto something really good. And, for me, when we signed Xavi, and I was worried that we'd get pipped or something would happen, I thought this is the first big, we are a big club statement signing that I've seen. Probably, I can't even remember the last similar one. I mean, I just got so excited, and we just need to do more of that, and we'll be flying. And I think with the cash injection, I know we'll get to it when you're ready, Phil, but with that more money coming in and the promise of more money and the Lewises being in charge instead of the Levies more so, I'm very excited with the kids taking over. So it's all good.
And Xavi's a baller, isn't he? He's a proper baller, and he's actually a real
Proper
Spurs
baller.
player. He's a proper
COYS.
Tottenham, proper come and you Spurs player, like it used to be in the old days. Rabonas and all,
He surprised
right?
me. He surprised me a little bit, Phil, because I thought he'd have a bit like too much swagger to play in that team, and maybe he'd be a bit too kind of nifty for us. But he's him and Kudus are just they're real Rolls Royces the way they play, and add something real sparkly to that team.
As you said as well, though, if we copied and pasted Kudus on the left, had a player of Kudus's quality with Xavi in the number 10, Palina behind him, and then whoever you want to play next to Palina, with, let's say, Solanke up front, or even Kolo Muani if he actually gets fit and gets back to his kind of Frankfurt quality, and
Phil,
also France quality as well.
Can I add something? I mean, I know What's your thoughts on? I'm not saying it's going to happen because it probably won't, given his position. But what is your thoughts on playing Kudus as a forward?
I like it.
Yeah, I like it. I liked how Frank, when was it PSG when he played like that, when he played Kudus almost up front with Richie. I
Yeah,
know he
yeah.
played three. I know he played three at the back, five at the back, whatever. But he kind of played a 3-5-2 or 5-3-2. But he played them both off
He was
one
further
another.
up anyway. Yeah,
Yeah, he was a bit more central, a bit more further up. Absolutely. I mean, to be honest, with Kudus, you want to get him on the ball as much as possible, right? Like literally,
so good,
he see
so
he
good.
seems to be able to run and run and run as well, right? He's got
He's an
stamina.
animal.
He
Yeah,
he he
Animal.
wins he wins the 50-50s. He doesn't lose the ball. When he gets the ball, he makes something happen. You know, he scored obviously last weekend. Maybe his shooting, his finishing isn't, quite on the top level, which, but again, if he gets into positions to have the shot, then he's going to score goals. And absolutely. And I'd like to see Frank do that more often, to be honest. I've got no
yeah.
issues with Frank changing to three at the back. If he changes his formation like that to get, Udogie right wide and Porro right wide, especially looking at the quality we have in defence,
Would you
because our
start? Would you start a doggy over Spence though? Because I'm very much Spence over a doggy.
no, I would. I would start Udogie over Spence. I think on the left if he's fully fit and kind of on it, because I think he loves to get down to the byline, and I think the more he plays, the more solid he'll get defensively as well.
Yeah,
I've got no issues with playing Spence on the left, but I still have a bit of a balance issue about it. Like I don't like having those, right footer on the left. I
Yeah,
don't like
I'd
having two
agree.
right footers. I don't like having two right footers on the left. It's quite nice having one who can come inside and then obviously like Udogie go on the outside. And I don't think Spence in the end can do that enough. I'd still like to think that Spence can offer more on the right as a proper backup or rotation to Porro. Although he hasn't really impressed me as much when he's played on the right for whatever reason. But he's certainly like Spence is still a great option for us on the left. Like I've got no problems with him playing there.
he's
Again,
not been.
offers a different kind of tactical plan, doesn't it, for Frank as well, because he's
He's
maybe
not
right
been.
footed as well.
Yeah, he's not been great for England tonight. I've just been sitting there watching it. He's not been
Mm.
great really.
Has he
Um,
started? Has he started on the right for England?
I think so. Yeah, yeah, he has. Yeah,
It's so weird. I mean,
Look,
he's like he just turned himself into an inverted wingback, hasn't he? It's a funny one with Spence, but I
yeah,
agree with you, Phil. I mean, I think my only challenge with Spence on the left is when you watch how they build up play. You know that when Spence gets wide enough or down that channel, he has to check back inside. He doesn't have you can't get to the byline and dink one in, and you can. And that's
yeah,
that's a and I think that's a fair shout that if you got two players that can only do that, and you can't have the underlapping and or overlapping runs on the outside and get that width you need. So I mean, it's a hard one, and I think it's just going to be the type of thing where if you're a big club, you rotate the squad depending on who you're playing. And I think we're in the transition to becoming a bit more of a big club where you have like A grade options in different spots for different opponents. So they just need to decide each game, how they want to shape up. But I'm happy to see either of them on the starting sheet. But I think I have been impressed with Udogie more recently, just his physicality and his getting forward and his running power. It's been good.
yeah. He gets back a lot quicker as well, I think, than Spence. To be fair.
Yeah.
David Clark. Well, you've been very active tonight on your comments, which is good to see. We want to see as many like interactions and comments as possible, right? And questions as well. If anyone else has got questions for the panel, then put them in the chat and we'll answer them. But coming to your question on the screen now, I'm just going to put it to both of you. Do you think that this is a top 5 squad as it stands today if we don't sign any more players in January? Start with you, Travis.
Yes, we are. I don't know what else to really say about that. Given our transfers and everything else that's happened with the club, of course we're that's not a biased opinion. That's my honest opinion. I think we are a top 5 squads. Yeah, so it's not my biased opinion. That's generally how I feel about the team. Obviously, there's improvement, but there needs to be improvement in a lot more teams within the Premier League this year. But yeah, for me, we are a top 5 squad. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, maybe
Agree?
I'll look. It's a hard one. I mean, I think they're becoming a top 5 squad. I don't think they're a top 5 squad yet. I think they're on the track to becoming one. I just think that how can you be a top 5 squad in the Premier League when your transfer policy and your wage policy is so different to the actual Big 4 or Big 5 clubs? I think we're as close as what we can be to being top 5, with the fact that we haven't had the same bank or cash roll to play with to be at that level. But I think the signals we're getting, hopefully, that's starting to change. So, the money's starting to flow, and I actually do think that you need to have the money to pay star players and bring them in and attract them. And I think what's good about Spurs is you look at someone like Frank. I reckon a lot of players, and you saw this with Xavi, one of the main reasons he signed for Spurs was Frank and Frank's vision for him as a player, the development, the ability to make players better, and really make teams really strong that outperform their squad depth and quality. So yeah, I mean the short answer is not yet, but on track. With a few good transfer windows, it's a project still, I think. What do you
Yeah,
think, Phil?
fair points. I think it can be a top 5 squad right now. I'm going to agree with Travis on that point. I think that with the signings we've made and looking at the strength and depth that we have in defence now, in my opinion, with Danzo as well, and a couple of players to come back as well. If Xavi obviously beds in, Odebert getting runs of games, and maybe not having decisive moments possibly, but still looking better in the team as a team player, with Kudus still delivering, with obviously the lack of any kind of strikers really. I think we have to remember that we're where we are without having an outstanding striker so far this season, really.
Our strike force lets
You know,
it down. That's one of the main
Yes.
key things for me is the strike force. Absolutely, Phil, spot on.
I think we can. It's a top 5 squad that can be. And the way that Frank so far has done in his first 10 games, with his balance overall in terms of defence versus attack, and maybe his pragmatism in a lot of games where some fans would want to be a bit more attacking, but that can still all come. With the squad he's got, we can make it happen with top 5. Probably we have to maybe rely on some of our, competitors in the league to maybe not perform as well as they can do to help us on that. But again, as always, if we sign that left winger that we almost did in the summer in January, and if we maybe, who knows, sign another striker in January and move Richie on to Orlando, as I believe you mentioned, Trav. I saw something around that on Twitter today, actually, that Orlando representatives either flew to England or vice versa or something like that. So if that's concrete, then, good, because I think, we've talked about Richie quite a lot on the pod, and, we've probably come to a consensus, I would say, that, he probably doesn't have the quality and maybe the injury record on duration to be our starting striker. So, if we can make those signings in January, then, no doubt we're a top 5 squad. But I would say we are now as well, basically. But yeah, let's see. A long way to go, right? A long way to go. I'm going to move on from that point now as well, to the news that was announced earlier on today. I think that there was some rumours over the last couple of weeks, obviously with some potential takeover offers coming, including this DJ dude who kind of no one really knows anything about. I think that in the end was obviously confirmed to be pretty much a publicity stunt, as it looks like. But we had some concrete other offers. They've all been rejected out of hand, or they've pulled out. So it seems that the Lewis family are serious about Spurs, or let's say the younger Lewis, the next generation of Lewis family are serious about us. And there was rumours as well about, us putting or getting more money from them in terms of a pure investment in the team or in the club or whatever. Well, this morning or at lunchtime, whenever it was confirmed. We released a statement saying that the family are providing 100 million of additional funds to improve the kind of working and quality of the team, let's say, the team and playing staff. I think the statement essentially was. So what does that mean? It looks like, they've come to the party and essentially have said that there's going to be additional money to spend in January. I think, just to explain it fully to the listeners and to the viewers as well, who maybe haven't seen this news today, there was some reports by BBC Sport, also Ali Gold, and The Independent and The Guardian afterwards as well, The Athletic as well, I think, saying that this 100 million would or could essentially be an initial investment or kind of additional pump into the club, i.e. that Frank and his coaching staff, and I guess the new powers that be, right, in the club, including Vinay probably as well, right, all of them together, would be sitting down and working out what they need next to kind of ensure success, however that's been defined within the club. So this could mean, and this is where we go over to Las Vegas and listen to those coins coming in, this could mean that we're finally going to see some cash, like some proper cash into the team. I mean, we've spent money before, haven't we? We've spent big sums on players over the last couple of years that generally have more turned out to be failures or underwhelming than anything else. However, generally recouped cash as well. We sold Harry Kane. We lost Sonny now as well. We've lowered the wage bill. Could this be the first time in I don't know how long that we're going to see some proper, sustained and also clever investment into our playing staff and team? Bearing in mind, as we've just said, we all believe that we have pretty much a top 5 squad already, almost. Could this be the start, together with Thomas Frank, of something truly, truly special? I'm going to come to you first, Mike, on this. Like, when you saw this news break earlier on, what were you on? When you saw this tweet or X or wherever you saw it, what did you think initially? How did you take this news?
I saw it in a couple of our chats, Phil, so I think we're all excited about it together. It probably, I always compare things to the Xavi signing once that was completed. So I'd say it's about a 70% of how I felt when we signed Xavi. Very, very excited. But we've had funding and cash injection announcements before that have either been turned out to be, this was for something else. This was just financial restructuring, this and that. I think this is a pretty clear statement that they want to put money into the squad. So I am happy. I'm a bit, reserved until I see it being spent appropriately. The other thing to say is that before we actually take the lids off and announce that it's party time for Spurs and, the rebuild's finally on, that we've all been waiting for, January's a hard month to sign players. That's not an easy window. So we've just got to, wait and see what can come. And I think the worst result for me would be everyone knows we've got all this money. We go into January, that's a traditionally tight market, and then we pay overs for another player like Richie or Solanke, who just don't. They're good, but they're B pluses. They're not A pluses. So that's what I worry about. Or even as you said, Phil and Trav, like Walter Mato. I don't want to see us paying 80 million odd for that kind of player. I mean, he's good. He's good. He's played well, but save that money and even just get some clever loans happening or get some players out and then really go hard when the time's right in June with all that money. But what it does tell me, the signal there is that the young Lewis family, who's now driving this ship, actually cares about the football that this club wants to play and not just building cinemas, racetracks, and Beyonce pad outs for weird Showtime things at the stadium. So yeah, I'm very excited, mate. They've just got to do the right thing this time and not fall into old Spurs traps of trying to get discount bargain bin kind of crap happening. So we'll see.
Just sticking with you very quickly before I come to Travis on this. Do you think that it's 100 million initial investment, that it is actually a 100 million kind of cash investment in the team? Again, just to play devil's advocate slightly, we've been here and we've seen it all with Spurs in the past, where we've been kind of promised things. I think even, ENIC under Levy, there was some kind of cash bond, share exercise at some point, right, which released some funds, but, possibly doubtful that actually went into the playing side in the end. Is there any concern from your side based on what you've seen also, with the Lewis family, but also bearing in mind that this is a new generation and, with Levy leaving the club and essentially being ousted quite, what's the word? Aggressively, violently, that maybe this really is, a new change, right, of how we approach things moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I want to believe, like in the X-Files, you know what I mean? Like, I really hope that this is the change that we're all been waiting for. And the Levy thing, the way you made it sounds a bit like that Red Room episode in the Game of Thrones, isn't it? Sort of like, Levy
Yeah.
rocks up thinking he's going to steer the ship for another 25 and then bang, he's out. No, I do think with the youth, for me, I think, and like a lot of us, I think we're all still a bit surprised that they managed to publicly and quite brazenly get Levy out, which people have wanted for so long. So I think that coupled with this new Lewis younger generation, and David Clark rightly points out, they're not young, but they're younger than like 100 years old, which is still relatively young compared to the last folks in charge. So they bring in obviously different ambitions for the club and different thinking around what they want to see and some legacy stuff too. So I think that they want to make their mark and really see football success, which I think they see that. Vino Venkateshan as well, and the way they're structuring up looks like they're very focused on football success. So at this point, I think you have to look at the evidence and what you're seeing play out in front of you. And for me, all the big indicators are that they're serious this time about spending proper coin and doing it right. But it is Spurs, so we have to wait and see and keep enjoying the roller coaster.
Indeed, and it will always be a roller coaster, won't it? Even in probably the most positive of times, there'll always be something, won't there, in some shape or form. We've been there too long, but it would be boring otherwise, wouldn't we? We probably wouldn't really want it any other way. In some ways, self-torture or something like that, I believe. Travis, coming to you on this again. Like when you saw the news break earlier on, were you filled with joy? Did you see the Premier League trophy come up in lights? Like, what's your feeling on this initial investment, and also based on the kind of, I would say, like confirmed news, that they specifically mentioned this is an initial investment, right? And there would be more funds to come once the guys have got a full overview and picture of what they need.
I was a mixture of different thoughts, really. Obviously, being a Tottenham fan, you wonder where this money's come from. Is the money real? Has the bank account been hacked? As David Clark quite rightly said there, has it come from inside trading? You know, all these thoughts go through your head. But it's great intention from the club. Finally, going to pump 100 million into the club. And my other thought process was, where is that money going to? Is it going to the new hotel that they want to build? Is it going to something else they want to build? Is it, it just makes me wonder, is it actually being pumped into the football team? And I think I put a message on the group chat earlier when Callum obviously announced that the money had been put into the club. In today's market, 100 million, it's a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money in today's market, and that's my concern. But as you said earlier, Phil, are they going to be clever with it? Are they going to get the right players in? We spoke about Adam Walton earlier. What a signing that would be, and again, that would be competition for both Bentancur and Paulinho. So yeah, I have my doubts. Where is the money going? And I think as Tottenham fans, we've had so many seasons where we know we've got the money, but the money's gone elsewhere. So obviously you have that doubt, wondering, is it going to be put into the squad and get the players that Frank actually wants and needs? But it's great. It's great intent from the club, and I really hope it works out positively for us fans and the team in general.
Yeah, exactly. Good, very good points. David's written again here, saying that there's a lack of football people on the Spurs board, continues to be filled with financial people. Would you say, Travis, that you'd like to have, I don't know, if we talk about someone like Paratici, just again as an example, right? He's obviously left the club. He essentially got convicted in Italy, right, of essentially financial, or misreporting, I think, the value of players, right, for transfer purposes. I think officially under Italian law, it doesn't count as a criminal conviction, so he doesn't have a criminal record officially. However, obviously, he's got a suspended sentence. Would you like to see someone like Paratici, and maybe it doesn't even need to be Paratici himself, but would you like to see someone else maybe come into the club to still take over that kind of, either take over from Lange as the, sporting director per se? Because I think at the moment there is potentially like a gap in the, maybe in the club still for that kind of role. If the club feels that they need someone in there, maybe with a bit more overall experience compared to Lange, who, has maybe been a bit more of a scout potentially really in some respects.
For me, it would have to be Paratici or somebody of Paratici's caliber. Now, I know he was a bit, how can I word it? He was a bit not straight-laced into the book, is probably the best way to put it. But he did get that team cooking. And he was exciting to watch. He was exciting to know he knew exactly what he was doing and why he was getting the players that he did. Obviously, i.e., Bentancur and Kulusevski from Juve. So in that sense, it would have to be Paratici coming back to the club, or somebody of that caliber who knows exactly what they're doing, rightly or wrongly. For me,
would you, Mike? Would you be happy for someone like Paratici to come back into the club based on what happened at Juventus? Again, we know the signings that he's brought to Spurs. Some of them have worked out. Well, some of them have worked out very well. Some of them didn't work out so well, but that could happen with any kind of sporting director, right? But would you be happy to take someone back with his kind of record or potential reputation at the moment?
Oh, it's a good question. I mean, I just reckon it's time for a bit of change, to be honest, Phil. I mean, Paratici, he's been okay. He's done some dodgy stuff. We know that. But I see Paratici as being a bit of a relic of the kind of Levy sort of era of Spurs, and they worked hand in glove quite closely to engineer a lot of those transfers. And I haven't been that blown away by his work, to be honest, beyond some of the stuff that you mentioned. So I reckon it'd be good to get a bit of a steer from Vinay and Frank to go out and see who they can find to fill a role like that. But yeah, they do need to look at that a bit more closely in terms of how they source. But yeah, I mean, I think sort of something new would be good. I see that Spurs TV sort of echoing that. And I think that's very fair. I mean, Frank and Vinay are proving to be a very solid combination. I think things are working well administratively and at the club level. And so, I don't think there's a need to get Paratici back in the fold, especially given what's gone on. So could be ethical, could just be time for change as well.
Yeah, good point. Good point. And I think it's a very important question for the club, for Vinay, I guess, probably to decide on, because I think we understand that Paratici is still involved as a consultant still at the moment. Again, whatever that means, whether he's just doing pure scouting for us.
It just even sounds dodgy, doesn't it? Is it this bloke who's been stitched up by Italian law, who's a kind of consultant? They're already slimy us consultants. We don't need a convicted consultant too, do we? I don't know. It's all
I imagine he's officially a freelancer, right? With his own company or not.
Off the books.
So it's a very challenging thing. I think that or topic that Vinay needs to work out quite quickly, whether we want to continue with him or not. I would be. I don't think it would be the right idea to get him back in formally into the club. I think his reputation personally has been damaged in Europe.
Yep.
I think anyone associating with him in an official capacity, an employed capacity, would potentially cause themselves more reputational harm than not. Yeah, and I think Spurs TV said there, and you said as well, Mike, time for a new start. Paratici was pretty much, he was Levy's man, wasn't he, Paratici? And Paratici was also responsible for getting in Conte, for getting in Nuno, I think, as well, right, back at the time. Potentially Mourinho, I can't remember, but he was part of the old regime. I agree with Spurs TV as well that there's lots of candidates out there, and just banging the drum again for the Bundesliga and German football. There would be plenty of interesting sporting directors in Germany, not least at my German club, Eintracht Frankfurt. If I was Vinay, I would be flying over to Frankfurt and making Markus Kruscher, the sporting director, an offer he can't refuse. He's anyways been tapped up by Bayern to go there potentially as the next one. But there's also rumours saying that he thinks that Bayern might be almost too easy a gig, like literally too straightforward a gig, right? In terms of, he, with his record of buying and selling players, obviously for huge profits as well, but still identifying talent even at higher prices, what Frankfurt are doing now, someone like that in that role at Tottenham, I think could be a revelation. But again, we don't know yet what Vinay's plans are. He's only been at the club for a couple of months as well, right? And now with the Lewis's, the younger, older generation of Lewis's coming in, I guess we'll probably have to wait and see exactly what's going to happen. Coming on from the 100 million, right? So we're getting the 100 million in our pocket or on the table. Travis, who you could pick two players that you would like to see come into the club in January, based on the fact that we've got, let's say, at least 100 million to spend. I mean, theoretically, we had 70 or 80 million to spend anyway, right, in the summer if we'd have got Savinho. So is this on top of that? We don't know. But if you could pick one or two, if you could pick two players who you would they would be your picks to get in. Who would you want to see us get?
So mine would be Adam Walton from Crystal Palace and Silvino from Manchester City. I understand why we didn't get Silvino, but I think he's somebody who can play as an attacker. He can play as a winger, and obviously Adam Walton is just fantastic anyway with his passing ability. Yeah, so they would be the two for me. There's probably a few other candidates out there, but at the moment for me, it's Silvino and Adam Walton.
I wouldn't say no to either of those. Mike, what about you?
Well,
who would you dream? Who would you dream about?
Yeah, I mean, who I dream about every night is Antoine Semenyo, to be honest. Not in the way you're thinking, Phil, but mate, what a player! Honestly, that bloke is just cooking. So it would be him. And look, the only reason I'm not going to name a striker is because I haven't done enough research to know who's available and at the level yet. I don't know if you guys have ideas, but I won't name a striker now because I don't know who's fits the bill. But I think Elliot Anderson is just chopping it up, and I mean he's similar to Wharton in many ways. I just love watching him play generally and how he's going for England, but also for Forest. So yeah, someone like him and a Semenyo would do it for me very nicely.
I mean, we've talked about Semenyo quite a bit, haven't we? Or at least Semenyo seems to be quite up there, with some of the names that would fans would love to get him probably as their preferred option. Do you think it's realistic that we get Semenyo, even if we've got 100 million to spend?
Definitely not. I mean, he's. I just think his form already this season has proved like you had to get him before this season. Eric Dyer. That's brilliant.
There you go, Travis.
Yeah, no, I think before this season, I mean, he's catapulted himself to Liverpool money now. So I think even with Lewis family new money, I think he's already maybe gone past us. Hate to say it, but no, I don't think so. But Semenyo would be special. But what's the situation there? Is he recommitted to Man City, or there's still an opening? You think, Trav, or what?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I don't know. I think a lot of it was based around wages, personally.
Yeah.
I think he's on a stupid amount at City. One striker who has just come to me, who I would be quite keen on seeing at Tottenham, would be Evan Nielsen from Bournemouth.
Yes, good call.
That would be for me. Yeah.
He'd be a very interesting shout, actually.
He's a great poacher, but I think Bournemouth, by the time they're finished being rated, they're just going to have a couple of empty chairs sitting in the stand by the time everyone's done with them. But that place is just a graveyard of like empty squad players by the time the top clubs are done.
Just get the seagulls.
Yeah, honestly, it's just nuts. What a talent factory.
I think we can probably safely say if we did get Semenyo in January, then I who knows where we could finish in the league. Imagine, like we talked about it before, Semenyo, Kudus, Xavi and Muani or Solanke, or maybe someone else even. Let's see. I mean, it's interesting times, isn't it? Like, with this 100 million at the end of the day, let's see how quickly this kind of comes into play. I mean,
what about you, Phil? What would you do? And like, are there any elite strikers in Germany left that we could maybe bring in?
I don't think there's anyone in Germany who I would bring in right now who would improve our squad. There's a couple of young players who are coming through, but they wouldn't be the ones that we would sign now, maybe like next summer or they wouldn't be the ones to sign in January, right, to help us. Got a couple of older strikers still around that, there's still Boniface, there's still Guirassy, who I rate actually. But though they're also getting on a bit, there's no one really, I would say, who would come in straight away and kind of make a massive, massive change. There's a couple of players that I think would be great signings that could like play wide. Actually, even for Eintracht again, Frankfurt, they've got 2 or 3 players there who Bahoya. There's the young German, Turkish player as well. I can't even think of his name right now, but he's been tearing it up for Frankfurt, kind of on the left actually. But he's more of someone that comes inside. So I don't know if he's someone that anyway. I know that we've been looking at him. I don't think in the Bundesliga, no. In terms of 2 players that I think would help us. Yeah, I mean, I'm on the Semenyo train, obviously. I don't think we'll get Semenyo. I wish we could have somehow got Savinho. I know he's committed to Man City, but again, does that mean that they wouldn't sell him if we go in for him again? I don't know. Like Man City probably they would sell players, wouldn't they, if they get good offers? I don't think signing someone up to a 5-year contract at Man City means as much as it does somewhere else. Savinho is probably going to want enough game time, isn't he? I know he's played a bit recently, but I'd love to see Savinho or Semenyo. I think my issue is I need to do a bit more research, actually, probably on other potential left-sided options, actually, like realistically, because I think we need a proper winger on the left. I think we need someone who has the ability, a bit like Semenyo, to go inside or outside, bit of a 2-footer in some ways, but someone who can score goals as well. Morgan Rogers, for me, he's not the right one. I like him. No, I wouldn't say no to Morgan Rogers, but I don't think he's quite the right profile, maybe, for what he would potentially cost. So I don't know. Striking wise, it's also a difficult one as well, isn't it? Like, what strikers are out there that we would get in January who would be better than potentially Solanke? I don't know. But have you got any other shouts for strikers? Actually, literally number 9s. Is there anyone else you think we could get?
Ollie Watkins.
I like Watkins.
Yeah,
I think he's all right.
Watkins would be a good signing. Watkins would fit right in, wouldn't he? From the way that he plays, actually, he's a Thomas Frank guy, isn't he? Like in terms of what
100%.
Frank kind of likes.
Yeah.
I did see that we've been linked with the ex Brentford striker Tony.
Oh, Tony.
On loan.
Tony. Yeah.
On loan.
I'd love
Would you
that.
guys would you take that?
No.
Not for you? No, why not?
No. I don't rate him at all. Really don't.
Yep.
I would take him on a loan. I think, until the end of the season, but that probably would depend on Solanke, where he is with his fitness. I mean, they're supposed to be announcing, aren't they, end of this week, like how long he's going to be out for. Yeah, let's see what they say.
It's another wage bill player though, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? If he flops, it's just yeah. I mean, if Frank wants him, there's a reason why he wants him. But I really don't rate Tony at all personally.
My last question on the striking thing before we're going to wrap things up tonight. After this is, do we believe that someone like Dane Scarlett or Will Lancashire can still offer something for us in the number 9?
Lancashire, yes. Scarlett, no.
Yeah, agree. And when you say offer something, it depends what you want. You're not going to get, a 20-goal season out of Lancashire, but he might be able to step in when everyone else has dead legs. That could be useful.
Yeah, Jamie Donnelly is the one to watch. I really do think he's going to be the next big thing. I really do.
I think someone posted in our group chat earlier on about his loan at Stoke.
It was Callum,
right?
I think, Phil. Yeah.
Yeah, Callum posted that, which was a good piece actually, saying or analysing his loan where he's only played like 45 or 50 minutes or something, hasn't he? Like for Stoke.
Yeah.
So it might be good to. I love Donnelly as well. I'd love to see us bring Donnelly back, to be honest, and integrate him into the squad. But I would imagine that we would loan him out somewhere else. Same as possibly with Mikey Moore as well. Although I guess there's going to be, it looks like Gerrard's going to be the new manager at Rangers probably again.
Why
So I
did he
don't
go
know.
to the Why did he go to the Scottish League though? I mean, Jamie Donnelly, he hit the road running at
Yeah.
Leighton Orient, absolutely brilliant. But why? I don't think Mikey Moore should have been sent to the Scottish League. Personally, it's a completely different league to most leagues. I think personally, I just think it's a complete waste of time. But
All right, guys. Well, look, I think we're going to wrap things up now. Thank you so much to both of you for joining tonight, and to all of our viewers and listeners as well, also for your comments and for your questions as well. I think it's been some interesting discussion points as well. We're all excited about the gold coins falling into our lap, hopefully, in the coming weeks and months. It's going to be a lot of transfer speculation, isn't there? That's for sure. Like even more than normal, probably, coming up to the transfer window as well. Would you both like to just say a couple of words about where people can find you online, what you mainly post about, or whether there's any kind of things you like to talk about as well? Starting off, Travis.
yeah, you can find me on X at Official Caster, where I do the most random posts about Eric Dyer, because Eric Dyer, I obviously rate him very, very highly, and I'd spend that 100 million on Eric Dyer all day long just to get him back to the club for one more season at least. No, yeah, find me on X at Official Caster. I am also on LinkedIn, where I do a lot of charity work and a lot of work for men's mental health as well. So yeah, that's where you can find me. I am on TikTok as well. I don't really use it, but I am on it. Hopefully, get some more compilation videos of Eric Dyer on there soon and get lots and lots of views. So yeah. I just want to say, Phil, you've done absolutely brilliant tonight, mate. Obviously, I know stepping in for Harry, who's managed to get to the England game at Wembley. Hopefully he's had a fantastic time, obviously with a great scoreline. But yeah, massive respect, Phil. Done really well tonight. And Mike, absolute pleasure as always, my friends, from so far away and getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning to talk about Tottenham.
Yeah.
So
Pleasure, absolute
Cheers,
pleasure, lads.
Travis.
And want to echo Trav's thoughts there. You've done a great job, Phil. So well done. And you even managed
Thank you.
to conquer the ineffective StreamYard earlier, which is a bit of a big shout for that. But yeah, people can find me. You can see my handle. I'm at MikeDav84 on the Twitter, or X as the kids call it. And yeah, just generally talking a lot of rubbish that's about Spurs. I'm going to do some more Eric Dyer dedicated content, I think, just because Trav likes it. So get into that. But come and find me. I'm only doing Harry's show with you fine gentlemen, so that's mainly where I'll be. So yeah, happy to chat about all things on X or where else. So good on you, fellas, and just been wonderful chatting with you both as always.
pleasure.
Cheers, Mike, and pleasure. And again, thanks for your commitment, obviously, with the time zones and stuff over there as well. Amazing stuff. Yeah, I'd also like to just say thanks to Harry for all of the great work that you do, on your channel, and for all of our communities as well, and also for all of the partners and the partner projects as well. Hope you've had a good time tonight. I haven't seen the final score actually. Was there any more goals than that?
It's just
We'll have
3-0.
another look.
Nah, it's just 3-0.
How was it? Boring second half. And yeah, also thanks to Harry for asking me to host this tonight as well. You guys can find me on X mainly at Frankfurt Spurs. Yeah, I post mainly on there about Tottenham stuff and Eintracht. Obviously, we're trying to build up South Germany Spurs Supporters Club, German Lily Whites in Germany. And again, I'd shout out to anyone, whoever's coming out Germany in a couple of months' time to watch Tottenham play against Eintracht Frankfurt in Frankfurt. Feel free to shout me out for any tips, advice, flights, hotels, restaurants, whatever. We're going to be setting up some big meetups as well, probably before the game and after the game as well. Just get as many Spurs fans together from all communities, all areas, right? UK, Germany, and elsewhere in Europe as well. So thanks again to everyone for tonight. Have a good evening. and we'll see you next time here on Scarfey Spurs Talk Podcast. See you guys. Come on, you Spurs. Big up Eric
Come on, you
Dyer.
Spurs.
Eric
See you,
Dyer up
lads.
front.
See you later, gentlemen.
See you.